Well, I'm originally from the Philadelphia area, and I moved here in 2000. So I've been in Tampa now 20 years. In my prior life, I worked in information systems for 20 years for several Fortune 100 companies as a network engineer. So I've been a real estate agent since 2002. When I first moved down here in 2000, I was still a network engineer, and I had a team of people working for the Port Authority in New York City. So after 9/11, I decided to go into business for myself, and real estate was something that I had been interested in, and it allowed me to be able to stay home with my young son, who was 12 at the time. I work with both buyers and sellers. My business is typically 60% sellers and 40% buyers. I enjoy working with the buyers because it gives me the ability to see what buyers are looking for and how trends change over time. And buyers at some point will also become sellers. So I try to match up my buyers and sellers where possible. Staying up to date with this market, it's been really interesting. What I do on a daily basis is I look at statistics for the area, both on a daily and weekly basis as well as a monthly basis. So I can see for our local area exactly what's happening. And right now, we've been seeing inventories at a historically low level. The number of homes that are selling, they're selling quickly. So watching that on a regular basis allows me to gauge how the market and how the demand is doing at a very local level. When a client contacts me, whether they're buying or selling, the first thing that I do is I sit down and talk to them. I do a needs analysis because I want to understand what are their goals for the transaction. Time frame, if they're selling their house, what are their goals financially, and what is most important to them, so that I can understand what their expectations are of me, and that way we can have a good solid basis for a working relationship going forward. So once I start working with a buyer, I get them in touch right away with my mortgage lender because it is so critical that they are approved right away, especially in a hot market like we're in now. That way they are able to quickly make an offer. Once that's in place, then we start the home search. And that's really the fun part, where you get to understand what do people like, what don't they like, and I listen for what my buyers really want in their property. Because some people have very different ideas of how they want to live. Some people are more formal, some are more casual, some want privacy, some want acreage. So really listening to understand what it is that appeals to them. Once we go under contract and we negotiate all the terms, then I work with them to schedule the inspections. And then once inspections are done, we negotiate repairs if there's any to be done. The next step will be appraisals. So I work with the lender to make sure that the appraisal is done, which is part of their process anyway. But I like to stay on top of everything throughout the entire process. So I use my project management background and apply that to real estate. And then of course, after that, we're on to closing. So once I meet with a seller and talk to them about what their expectations are as far as time frame, pricing, then we look at what does their house have to offer? How does it compare to other properties, both in the neighborhood and in the price range, so that we can make sure that we get them the best price for their home and at the same time not leave it sitting on the market. So we get them the most money to sell in the quickest amount of time. So once we go through that process, we get the house on the market, we schedule all the marketing. So whether that's videography, photography, staging. I have folks that we can recommend for all of that. to help get that done. And of course, communication is key in that whole process. So every week I'm giving my sellers an update on what's happened as far as the marketing process, how many showings we've had, what kind of feedback we've had. And then of course, if we have an offer, I call them right away to make sure that they have enough time to take in all of the different terms of that offer and make sure that it works for them. As far as my sellers, I think my sellers would say that they are pleased with how quickly I've been able to get the properties under contract. In some cases, I've got them under contract in one day. It's not always a smooth transaction. There are issues with any real estate transaction that comes up because every transaction is different. So I know that when issues arise, people will say, well, never really thought about that before, I never had that pop up before, but we're able to address it right away. And they're really very grateful and relieved that we can work through that and get that done. My buyers really enjoy the fact that I keep them posted on every step of the transaction, and I'm with them through every step of the transaction. So inspections, I always go to my inspections when I can, because I like to know the condition of the house and how to advise my buyers. Same with appraisals. On the seller side, I attend all of my appraisals because I want to know that we've taken into consideration, the appraiser has taken into consideration every aspect of that property to get the values to where we need that to be. The buyers, a lot of times I think they're surprised with the level of detail that the lenders need from them as far as a mortgage, and I tell them up front, this is the most challenging part of the transaction, so just know that. And they ask a lot of documentation from every lender, not just you, so don't take it personally. So I think setting those expectations up front with both the buyers and the sellers is critical. And they're always happy when we come to the end and they get their keys and they get to move in. The most rewarding part, whether I'm working with buyers or sellers, I enjoy people. That's just something that my personality, I love meeting new people. And I think the most rewarding part is when a seller gets to close on their house and move on to the next stage of their life, or a buyer, when we hand them the keys and they are so happy and so excited about moving in and starting this next stage of their life. That's really the part for me that is the most rewarding. So having to step in and deal with any issues that pop up, and I'm very grateful for the team of people that I have between the lenders, the inspectors, the title company. My broker is a licensed Florida attorney, as is her husband. And it's such a relief to know that I've got that support behind me, as well as 18 years of experience and having dealt with different challenges that have popped up with each transaction. I think a couple of things. One is the fact that I have had a project management background, that I can apply that process and systems to each transaction so that I have a process that I follow. But also, I think one of my strengths is problem solving, so that when things do come up or I have a challenging situation, like a seller who may have to go through probate, or an out-of-country or out-of-state seller, foreign investors, all of those have issues that need to be addressed right up front. And I try and take care of that up front so that we don't have to deal with it at the end and cause any delays. So I think that experience, the fact that I have done so many transactions over the years, and some of them are really challenging. I've done everything from short sales to foreclosed properties. And I think all of that experience is what makes me different. One of the other things that makes me a little bit different is how I invest in my business. Through the pandemic, I have really become more involved with video and doing videos to stay in touch with my clients, as well as putting information out there, whether it's listings or just information to help people through real estate issues, just to educate the general public. So in addition to that, as far as the marketing that I do an awful lot on social media, which is where all the buyers are these days. You know, they're on Realtor.com, they're on Zillow, but they also find properties through Facebook, through YouTube, through Instagram. And that's where I'm changing my marketing practice, is to go more onto the social media. All of my business is done through referral. From time to time, I do have people contact me through social media for a property. But, you know, so I stay up to date with new marketing trends, and I also invest in myself to further my own professional education. For example, I'm working through my Certified Residential Specialist certification right now. I've become a CDPE, which is a Certified Distressed Property Expert, which gives me specialized training in dealing with foreclosures and short sales and things like that. And that helps me both on the buyer side and the listing side. So I think those things are crucial to make sure that I keep my skills up to date.